I watched a movie last night. hmm The Ugly Stepsister is the retelling of the classic Cinderella story through one of the ugly stepsisters' point of view. So this movie follows Elvira, and she is the oldest ugly stepsister, and it takes place just before Cinderella's daddy dies. So we get to meet the sisters, see the wedding from the evil stepmother and the daddy, and then we get to see him die, and then we see how the progression of how Agnes turns into Cinderella and how Elvira turns from the ugly stepsister to an even uglier stepsister. And it's an interesting, fun storyline. I love retelling a classic stories through a different character's eyes. I think that's brilliant. When I was a TA in college, I used to be an education major for like one semester, and my final paper, whatever you want to call it, is I did an assignment with my theater students where we would choose old-timey nursery stories and tell it from the perspective of the villain. So for example, I had the class do Three Little Pigs and tell it from the werewolf's point of view, and et cetera, et cetera. So I was all about this. I was all about it. I was here for it. I really truly liked the story. I thought this story was really fun. I thought it was refreshing. I thought even though it was a remake of Cinderella, I thought it was refreshing and new and original. I really liked how it only centered on the one stepsister. The other stepsister was there, obviously, but she didn't have a huge storyline to compete with this ugly stepsister. They were able to give her, her moment to shine, which is kind of what she's been desperately seeking this whole time. So I thought that was really interesting and a cool way to just show us who she was by just focusing on the one sister. What I really, really liked about this movie is how well these four women were developed and how different their relationships with each other were. It was very believable and very realistic, because in the Disney Cinderella, all we know is Cinderella was the victim, poor Cinderella, Cinderella, you know what I mean? But in this movie, we get to see how Cinderella became Cinderella, and we also got to see how Cinderella's relationship with these stepsisters deteriorated, because it wasn't always like, I hate Cinderella, Cinderella could, clean my poop from the beginning, which was really nice, which was just refreshing. And it was just, everybody's relationship with each other was different. None of them were the same, and it just made for a fulfilling movie. I just really liked this movie. This movie was just a fun watch. It showed us everything that women supposedly had to go through back in that day just to catch a man so that they can eat, so that they can survive, which is why I really don't understand why this era is so romanticized, because girl, the things women have to do to their bodies, the way that they have to study to be women just to catch a man who has chlamydia. I'll never understand. I'll never understand why this era is so romanticized, because this era is just so anti-woman. This era is just so very anti-romantic, and it's very present in this movie that, girl, look at all this shit that women had to go through just to catch a mediocre man. Just to catch a mediocre man who has the clap. And then you're going to get the clap, because there's no protection back in the 1800s. So I don't understand why people were so like, oh my gosh, I love this era. I wish my life was like this now. Because why? After watching this movie, answer me. Why? Why? No, but this movie was good. I felt like this movie didn't have any dry spots. It definitely wasn't slow at all. I felt like every moment that was on screen was there for a reason. And I just felt like it just really gave so much truth and so much dimension to the ugly stepsister Elvira. And you do feel bad for her. You do. And you kind of are on her side. You know what I mean? And you kind of think like, maybe Cinderella isn't, Cinderella. You know what I mean? It just does a good job of storytelling. And it does a really good job of incorporating the little sequences from Cinderella, from Brothers Grimm, and from Disney. You know what I mean? It stayed true. And that's all I ask of you, is to stay true. It didn't do copy and paste. It made it super original, but it did stay true to the original story, which that's all we ever ask for. Have you seen this movie? What did you think about it? Leave a comment below. I'd love to read it. I'm Hey Shantae, and what movie did you watch last night?